Hey, this is Pamela Riemenschneider. I'm the retail editor for Blue Book Services, and I have Greg Johnson here, our director of media development. And hopefully we're side by side this week. And this is the Produce Reporter Week in Review. And Greg, we saw some crop fluctuations this week with our continued partnership with Ag Tools. And one of the ones that I think was a little more interesting is what's going on with the avocado market.
Yeah, the avocado market has been interesting. The pandemic really only affected it for a couple weeks. There was a drop in volume right in mid-March, and there's a drop in price, and then it shot right back up, and then it kind of leveled off, and it has been pretty consistent. And I am so psyched to talk about avocados. I have multiple crops.
You know what? I have a crop downstairs, and I
wearing avocado green. It just seems like a Cinco de Mayo kind of week.
Oh man, I need to send one of my kids downstairs because I was at Aldi the other day and they have this little avocado shooter. It shoots a pit out of its avocado tummy. Oh man,
beautiful.
If I had known, yeah.
Well, also Rabobank, which does a lot of analyzing the industry, they came out with a report this week, and I talked with one of the authors of it just today, and we'll have this story also. And it projects a little bit what they expect for the rest of the year. And they think even though there's a pandemic going on and they don't know how long it'll last, they project that sales will still be up this year and per capita consumption in the United States will still be up. And part of the reason is with food service being down for so many other produce items, the kinds of restaurants that use avocados tend to be lower in the economic scale. You think about the Chipotles of the world, they're doing pretty well. They're doing a very good job with delivery and takeout, and their business is not off that much. And a lot of Mexican style restaurants are able to do takeout and continue to use avocados. And as far as supply, one of the reasons last year was kind of rough for consumers is that prices spiked so much in the summer when the Mexican crop was down and California was down. And this year it's expected to be more normal levels. And so there should be good supplies, reasonable prices for consumers, just a steadier flow.
Well, even in the retail avocado gig, Anne-Marie and I have been watching this, and over the last couple of weeks, the last 4 weeks ending, so this is a 4-week trend, on April 26th, avocado sales, the volume is up 15%, but in the 1 week ending on the 26th, it was up 40%, and the dollar stayed the same. So, or the dollar jump stayed the same. So it shows you that people are buying more avocados, and that's perhaps the Cinco de Mayo bump that we're looking for. Of course, next week's numbers are going to give us a better idea of what happened with Cinco de Mayo sales. But that's encouraging to see that the sales are still up on an item like that perhaps maybe has a little more impulse to it. I even saw some fun stuff that Avocados from Mexico did on Cinco de Mayo. They were actually giving away guacamole kits. So it kind of fits along with that do-it-yourself, take it home and do it kind of thing. And that was fun and innovative to see.
Well, the science isn't behind this, but there is some internet talk going on about avocados being one of the best foods to eat if you're ill during the pandemic as well. So that could have something to do with its staying power, even while some other items are being disrupted considerably more.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I even started doing some smoothies because I was like, man, I don't feel like I'm getting enough produce in my life, so I started making some smoothies and throwing some avocado in the smoothie as well. So I guess I'm ahead of the curve yet again.
Again, just keep buying them. Well, there's more to that report that you and Anne-Marie talked about. I find the numbers so interesting every week because every week it seems like there's a different story to tell. And I'm fascinated with how the possible meat shortage is factoring into retail and could affect produce supplies or produce buying patterns.
Yeah, so we talked about this in our other video, and what we're seeing is the week ending the 26th is when the same week that the Tyson letter went out about some disruptions, and then we're talking about a lot of the closures in the pork plants. People started panic buying again in meat. but it's also correlating with people going back to the store more. We're seeing more trips to the store. People are starting to, some of the states are opening back up, and people feel more comfortable about going to the store. So we're seeing trips go up. And so in the end of April, we saw produce sales go up. I mean, the total store went up, but produce went up 23%. And that was a huge jump, especially for fruit and veg here, which is why I picked up the vegetables were up 30% year over year. That was almost as high as the jump that we saw at the very beginning of the panic buying in mid-March. So a lot more people going to the store. And here's the thing about these numbers that should be encouraging. There's a whole lot more direct-to-consumer sales that are going on right now that are not included in scan data. That includes an online grocery that are outside platforms, and it also includes people buying direct from things like Imperfect Produce, or even from the plethora of wholesalers that are going direct to consumer right now with boxes.
There is one of the retailers that made news this week, represents a kind of a change in direction with their, I guess their culture, their corporate image, and what they, not so much what they stand for, but their niche in the market. I'm talking about Sprouts, and they've made a couple changes into their position in the market. Why don't you explain a little bit more about that?
Well, Sprouts Farmers Market had its most recent quarterly report this week, and it was a complete 180 from the previous report, which was back in February. Back then, their CEO, Jack Sinclair, had said that, grocery pickup isn't really much. We're trying to be a farmer's market, which means people got to come into the store for the deals. They were doing decent business in delivery, but the BOPIS, buy online, pick up in store, wasn't much of a seller for their customers. Well, we all know who that's going right now. I think the latest number that I saw was like 950% increase in pickup and online. And so Sprouts is rolling out online grocery to all 340 stores. And they're also kind of changing their ad strategy. They pointed to just one promotion in particular that they piloted back in January in the southeast of strawberries, where instead of going serious food, silly prices, which is what the Sunflower Farmers Market slogan used to be, that's part of Sprouts now, of course, they went actually higher price, but featuring local, and saw a way bigger jump and a way bigger return on investment for that promotion than they would have for going maybe a loss leader on that particular item that week. So we're seeing some different stuff, and we're also seeing them being more being careful about where they're putting new stores, reducing their store size 20%, but he did mention that they are not reducing the size of the produce department. So I thought that was fascinating. And then 3 new distribution centers, a whole lot of new stuff coming from Sprouts. They're definitely a retailer to watch.
Yeah, that's good. One of the things back when we used to travel for work, when I went to NGA all the back like 10 years ago, now it was February, they talked about not competing on price every time. And it sounds like Sprouts is starting to look into that and seeing where it's worth competing on price and where it's not. Because a lot of times, I mean, price is a huge factor, but it's not the only factor. And if you can get high quality local, price is not as big a factor.
Yeah. And, one of the things that they did note in their quarterly report is their same store sales were up 10%, which a lot of retailers were up. But think about what Sprouts has in its center store. Do they have, huge aisles of toilet paper and hand sanitizer? Not so much. So for them to post that kind of earnings jump, even though they weren't the type of retailer that people are going to stock up on, flour and that kind of stuff, I think is a positive note for them to see the consumers are really gravitating toward them for that fresh and healthy image.
It seems like they would be very well poised for when economies open up, because their business model is more experiential. The farmers market, their stores are very nice and they're very heavy on fresh and perishables. And if you have a choice between taking a 20-minute shopping trip to Sprouts or Walmart, it's more fun to be in a Sprouts store.
Yeah, for sure. And they're also they're also doubling down on that farmers market image. It doesn't, just because they're going to be doing promotions that are based on local doesn't mean they're going to like throw out the hot deal kind of thing, because they did mention that during the pandemic, when a lot of growers had excess volume, they did take advantage of some of that stuff and move a lot of volume through their stores at very low prices. So they're still maintaining that farmers market-y appeal, where you can get an exclusive ad or hot ad item. But they're also going to focus some of their premier ad spots more on branded apples or exclusive varieties than they have.
That is excellent.
Well, that's it. Say hi, Chewbacca. It was also May the 4th this week, so I had to bring Chewbacca up to say hi to everyone. And he was napping because that's what he does. So that's it for the Produce Reporter Week in Review. If you are not getting the Produce Reporter newsletter, you need to go to producebluebook.com and sign up. Goodbye, Chewy.